Yeah.
As I said, this is a really informal session, just having a quick chat. Get a few of our coaches together to provide some advice for training and getting prepared for some of the big events that are on this year. So just as you can see from the agenda, I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about really beginner-focused running aspects, and then I'm going to hand over to Anthony and Stan to go through some of the more in-depth stuff for those targeting the longer distances and who are keen to get to that next level in their training. And then we'll hand over to Paul for some strength and flexibility type tips. And then finally we'll have Peter talking about some of his experiences, having been a veteran of our club for quite a while and doing a number of events around the world. And then we'll try and open it up with heaps of time for questions, because really what we want it to be about is answering what you guys as the audience might want to know about your running and offer anything that we can. So I've thrown around a few copies of this one. So basically, I was sort of reflecting on what it was like when I was a new runner and thinking about the kind of things that I was doing as a runner when I first started. So I had in my mind that I'd go out and run 100%. Every time I ran as far as I could, as fast as I could, until I felt dead. I thought, yep, I'm training, I'm really progressing, this is going to be great. And then pretty quickly I found myself sore and injured and frustrated and really questioning why on earth I got into running in the first place. I think that's probably a familiar experience, either going out really hard every session to try and improve, or just more generally doing every run with the same level of intensity without any thought to a greater goal. A lot of us get into going out, trying out fun runs, corporate events, all those sorts of things to get into running in the first place, but we never stop at that beginning and think about why we're doing it. So a lot of the people I see here have all been running for a while, so this stuff is probably stuff you may have already picked up, but I'll run through it briefly anyway, just to kind of cover those bases. So as I said, if we make those sort of errors early on, then we tend to find ourselves frustrated, injured, or worse, we give up on running and go off to something else completely because we just can't understand what all the fuss is about, because we're never really satisfied with the way we're running. So I thought I might put together a few tips, and it was 5 tips that I think can make a beginner runner really enjoy their experience of running more, and they're probably good guides to reflect back on as we go through our running. So the first one is about our key weekly training runs. The golden rule here is not to just go out and run every run at the same mediocre pace, or on the flip side, go out and smash yourself every set, because it's not the most effective way to build your fitness, and Stan will go through the science of that later. But even for us as a very beginning runners, focusing on having a run that is longer than the others and run at a relaxed pace, having some of our runs as dedicated speed sessions where we're focusing on our endurance at speed and our endurance through fatigue, and then hills, because hills not only build our endurance, but they also make us stronger runners. And the best thing that you can do as a runner for strength, apart from strength training, is hills, because hills are a type of strength training. But for those of us who really love our running and want to do everything we can to run, hills are the next best thing to dedicated gym work. Of course, for those wanting to fit more runs into that plan, you can start to look at different varieties of speed work. You can add recovery runs, but also as a beginner runner, we do need to be thinking about our cross-training, our recovery days, and the sort of strength that complements our running, because we are more prone as beginners to injury as we build up our ability to handle the mileage. And we need to be thinking long-term rather than just getting to the marathon, the bucket list, because if we just put everything into that one bucket list run, that run might not go so well and then we feel miserable, or worse, we don't even get to it, we get injured halfway through. So I think a lot of us have probably felt that experience where we're training for one event in a year and it blows up and we just go, wow, well, what do I do now? So it's just about that long-term mindset. So I think setting goals is crucial as a beginner runner, and not just the goal as being one event, but thinking about what we might want to do this year versus, hey, where do we want to be running in 5 years? Do we want to be thinking about doing a marathon overseas? Do we want to go from marathon to ultras? Are we really happy just doing park runs? We want to excel at 5Ks. There's no reason why as runners we can't excel at shorter distances. Striders tend to have a lot of members who are interested in longer stuff but don't feel that pressure. If you really like running 10Ks, work towards a 35-minute 10K or a 30-minute or below. You can really excel at whatever distance you're interested in. So think about not just what everyone around you is doing, but which distances do you enjoy doing, and where does it fit into your lifestyle? We don't all have time to do 7, 8, 9 runs in a week. We might only have time realistic when we set our goals, that what can we be capable of. But don't sell yourself short. Don't just go, oh, well, I can run 31 minutes at parkrun, so I want to be able to run 30 in a year's time. Like, you can do, a lot of us could do better, so evaluate those goals regularly. If you feel like you're really, hitting a sweet spot in your running and you're improving, then look at it again and go, no, I can go quicker than that. And set your training up to work towards those improvements. I think periodizing is probably the one that even our intermediate and advanced runners don't quite get right. So periodizing is just don't run the same volume week in, week out all year without any consideration of where you're at in your training. So what it means is we need to have breaks between our training cycles, or it's most effective to have breaks between our training cycles that peak at an event, recover after an event, and then sensibly build into the next event. So many of us, myself included, just go out and just go, all right, I'm going to run 50 Ks a week, and then we just do 50, 50, 50, 50, 50. It's certainly a way to run, and certainly, there's very strong performances across the club, and even from people like myself who do that, are very happy with their running, but in my case, I've been injured now for 6 weeks because I didn't rest through the Christmas break, among other reasons. A lot of us do get injured, and one of the key reasons I think, personally, for that is that we neglect strength and we don't periodize. So think about your training in terms of little chunks towards your goal. So if your goal is marathon, work back 20 weeks, go, right, that's about now. Even a couple of weeks ago, we would have been starting to think about how we can taper up towards marathon. After the marathon, we definitely deserve a rest. That's the key that we often forget. So just think about that when you're setting up your training plan. Which also means doing the right workouts at the right time. So if you think, and Stan will go into the science more, but early in our training plan is pretty generic training. Later in the plan towards your goal event is much more specific training to your event. So if you're running a marathon, it's probably not the best use of your training time in week 1 to go out and do like 10 1-mile reps. You might be better off doing some hill repeats to build on your endurance and muscle strength, so that then you can handle those 10 1-mile repeats 4 or 5 weeks out from your marathon. On the flip side, if you're doing a 5K, you might be building up to really short, sharp 400-meter repeats, but lots and lots of them close to your race. The other flip side is with the 5K, you can probably race every couple of weeks without as much risk of injury as if you're doing a marathon. So it's just thinking about how many races we want to do in a year and how to fit in some of that recovery time. I think listening to our body is another one that we're not so good at, but definitely as a beginner, it's incredibly important. I think true rest is genuinely as important as any other key running session in our plan. So our bodies are actually designed to absorb the impact of our running when we're resting. So if you never rest, you do compromise your ability to take on all that improvement. We generally think of the actual, gut-wrenching effort that we put in during a run as being the benefit. It's sometimes after that we're resting and our body's rebuilding and strengthening itself. So don't neglect that, and also listen to your body in terms of injury. Get advice early if you feel like something's falling apart. Don't wait till it blows up in your training plan. If you feel something's a bit sore, it's not weak to back off. The no pain, no gain thing's probably not quite true in running, and you're more likely to succeed in your event if you listen early. So I think that's a good one too. And then finally, keep learning. So we're all members of a running club that's full of people who have excelled at their distances. We've got great coaches, Stan and Anthony, who have also got the pedigree of the times behind them to give good advice. I've noticed this club is really happy to share information and chat about their running. So take advantage of that as a beginner. Ask the questions if you're not sure where you might want to go to, or think about an event that you're thinking of training for. And I think getting educated is a pretty good idea too. So pick up a running mag if you're jumping on a plane to go somewhere, and have a flick through and read the latest articles about different Olympians and what sort of things they did when they trained. Because even though we're not at that level, there's some similarities we can grab that we go, oh, cool, maybe I'll try that in my training. Just sort of look at things different. And of course, finally, remember that we are all individuals. So what you hear someone else doing that was perfect for their marathon plan may not necessarily be the right thing for you. Certainly in my case, having been injured a number of times through the years, I see runners who can just purely run and do no strength work whatsoever and run 100 Ks a week and have never seen a physio in their lives. And I just think, man, I wish I could be that person, but that's not me. So I have to find the way to run that suits me. And if that means more cross training or more alternate activities that benefit or complement my running, then that's what it is. So just a few
A
thoughts
black
to
one and a pink one.
take away with you today. And then I guess I'll hand over to Stan next.
Thank you.
Jesse.
I said to my wife
If you
before
stop,
I
I'll
left,
start again.